I'm going to share a secret with you. I thoroughly enjoy watching England under-21s football. I think they play fantastic football. Everything that you want in a football team, England under-21s have it. And that's difficult to say. But last night against Spain, they were very, very impressive. They qualified for the semi-finals of the Euros up against the Netherlands on Wednesday night. And that'll be a different game. That'll be a different challenge. Even just taking the weather into consideration. Lee Carsley's already spoken about the impact of the heat in Germany at the minute. But last night against Spain, up against the favourites for the tournament, England looked good. England looked perfect. Now, if I'm going to take this channel seriously and continue doing YouTube as a job, usually I've got to remove my claret and blue specs and put them to one side when discussing other Premier League clubs. But now and again, I'm going to have to remove my dark blue ones. My St Andrews glasses are going to have to come off to discuss England. Because I think Lee Carsley is doing a terrific job. And last night, tactically, he got it spot on. I've watched all bar the second half against Germany of England's campaign so far. The Club World Cup's going on, but I'm more focused on the Euros under 21s. I guess there's more talent there that I haven't discovered. It feels like a better tournament. It's more enjoyable as a neutral to watch than what the Club World Cup is. And I think there's an element of not perhaps taking that competition too serious over in America at the moment. But last night, England certainly took it serious. And England were fantastic. I think they were quite slow in the group stages. I think when I watched them, there was a lot of talent there, but it just felt like they weren't quite hitting their potential. But there was no doubts about that last night. Big calls, leaving Anderson out. And Carsley's spoken about the importance of be careful with how much minutes each player is playing, given the conditions and given the fact there's a tournament, it's quick turnover of games, so that when they come to the semi-final stage and if they get there, the final, some of those players haven't played every single minute in the tournament. So leaving Elliot Anderson out was a huge call. And on this channel, I'm not going to shy away from strong opinions, even if they're unpopular, even if I'm going to look stupid in the long term, because it's what I believe today. And something I strongly believe right now is that Elliot Anderson is one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. I don't think he gets enough plaudits. I think as a signing for Nottingham Forest, he has been superb in Nottingham Forest's success last season in qualifying for European football and being in the top three of the Premier League for pretty much all the season up until the last month. I think he was a huge, huge part of it. Just other players have got the plaudits, and deservedly so. Milankovic was superb. Sales was superb. But I think Anderson, has just gone under the radar. I don't feel like he gets enough credit. And so far at this tournament for England, I think Harvey has been really good. I think Anderson's been really good. And I also think Cresswell has been really good. Those are my three standouts for England thus far. But last night against Spain, James McAtee finally turned up. You're sort of waiting for him to do this, to have this performance, this level of impact and influence, because he's their captain. He's clearly a talented player. But I think in the previous games, playing this sort of 4-2-2-2, if you like, two false nines, it didn't suit him at all. I thought he was completely taken out of the game with those tactics by Lee Carsley. And the same with Jonathan Rowe. I think playing as a false nine, they've really struggled to impact the game. It's not their game. I think it completely limits what they can do. It removes Rowe's directness and his pace. With McAtee, he likes to get the ball, he likes to be facing the goal, but I felt like in the first few games in the group stage, McAtee was more or less receiving the ball with his back to goal. And I don't think he was enjoying it. I think he was struggling to influence the games. That was all gone by Carsley last night. I thought McAtee dropped back. Stansfield came in with what I can only describe as one of the most selfless performances I've seen from a striker in a long, long time. Just did not stop running. Kept on popping up where he probably shouldn't have been. At times, the Spanish right back would pick up the ball. Bang, Stansfield came in from the side, made the challenge. Quite often, England would be under the caution in the first half especially. It would be a lot of Spanish possession. They were building up momentum. Bang, Stansfield came in, won the ball. On a few occasions, won a free kick deep inside England's half, but just allowed everyone to calm down, have a breather, get up the pitch. He was superb, and he had to be really patient to wait for an opportunity. And he finally got one. Incredible back heel by Hutchinson. just got the ball stuck. Then he got a second one, an error by the Spanish centre-back. But he just had nothing left. Stansfield was done. His pass, he couldn't quite execute it, and he fell to the floor, and he looked like he'd given everything. But the reality was he had. But it wasn't just him. It was the entire England team. And at the full-time whistle, when the Spanish right-back made that wild attempt to injure Livramento, and then you've seen the brawl on the pitch after, there's something I like about that togetherness. And when James McAtee was interviewed after the game, he basically said, yeah, well, you're going to give it to us, we're going to give it back, we're going to stand up for ourselves, we're going to have a pop back at you. That togetherness counts for a lot, and often at times I think it was underestimated in teams' successes, or teams that perhaps don't have success but they should do. You look at them, you think there's a lot of talent there, why are they perhaps not achieving what they should be able to? And sometimes it comes down just to that team spirit, to that team ethic. England have it in abundance under Lee Carsley. I remember an interview with him a year or 2 years ago, and he got asked about a certain player in a position. I can't recall exactly what one it was. It possibly would have been Trent Alexander-Arnold. It might have been that, but don't quote me on that one. But he was certainly asked about a player's role in a position. And he very calmly replied and basically said, my players don't have positions, they have roles. It was something that's always stuck with me, and I found it very intriguing to look at it like that, because obviously on paper they do have positions. England last night, in my eyes, played a bit of a 4-1 with Tyler Morton, who again was superb, hasn't really featured that much at the tournament, gets called in by Carsley for last night, had a specific role to do, executed it perfectly. A real pain in the arse for Spain, really, when they were trying to build up momentum through the pitch, playing the way the Spanish do play. Quite often, Morton was the inconvenience. He was in the way. He was the one breaking up play. He was the one winning things. Maybe 5-10 minutes before the end of the game, ball come in. Tyler Morton crouched down, got his head on it, and got a kick in the face for his troubles. But he didn't back out. He did it. He put his head in, knowing that he was going to potentially get a kick in the face for it. It was a free kick. To me, perhaps shouldn't have been a free kick because he's ducking his head down. But it's the spirit. It's that determination and grit from a player who hasn't really been involved. So when he's called upon, he goes out there, he knows what's required, does it, got a yellow card, so he's suspended for the semi-final. But again, completely selfless, did what he had to do for the better of the team, even if it means a personal sacrifice. But just the way that Carsley has deployed these players, and I think last night he just got everything spot on. Stansfield was perfect, Harvey, Elliot on the right, bringing McAtee more central, deeper in the pitch as well. Superb. Hutchinson looked busy as always out there. Morton was fantastic. Alex Scott utilised, again, just the way that he should be. As and when required, he's deeper, he's doing a defensive role. But when England have possession, he's further up the pitch. But more importantly, when England press right up the pitch, he was up there with McAtee, he was up there with Stansfield, allowing them to push on, and he was picking up the defensive midfielders in that Spanish team, who, by the way, Guerrera, is that how you say his name, the Valencia player? He looks absolutely fantastic. I don't know much about this Spanish under-21s, Mosquera, because he's at Wolves, but the rest of them, I don't know loads about. Oh, Bueno, of course, at Wolves too, who I think will be good for Wolves next season. There's a player to keep it. If you do fancy league next season, at this point, I think Bueno of Wolves is maybe one to consider, because I think he may replace Ait Nouri at that left wing back role. So you can have that one for free. But that Guerrera was often the link between the Spanish defence and midfield. And because of the way that England pressed, he just struggled to get on the ball sometimes. You'd see the Spanish defence passing it sideways, looking for that pass into midfield, trying to break the lines, but it wasn't there. Carsley went man-for-man pressing. It worked completely. It was annoyingly enjoyable to watch. Livramento is one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League. I don't think he's underrated. I think a lot of people rate him as that, and I think that is fair. Arguably better at left back than right back, but he's superb in both positions. And again, this is something else that Carsley's done. Previously in tournament, we've seen Livramento down the left side with Archie Gray on the right, and he switched it. Carsley switched it for this game, put Livramento over on the right. brought Hinshelwood of Brighton in at left back. It worked. Hinshelwood was, at times, on a couple of occasions, I think, struggled with the quick play down that side, but by and large, put in an impressive performance. But it was another sign that Carsley knew the way that Spain played with their wingers, with their attacking wingers and tricky wingers, really technical players that like to cut in but also don't mind going down the outside as well. And Carsley responded to that by taking Gray, who has got plenty of experience as a fullback at Leeds and Spurs, taking him out of the team and just putting in a bit more of a defensive player in Hinshelwood, putting Livramento into his best position, who caused a continuous threat down that side. But again, it was just another thing that Carsley done. It was absolutely perfect. Now, at times they've rode their luck, England. Beadle made a couple of a really good double save from Guerrera towards the end. But by and large, I thought it was a very comfortable performance. The substitutions were correct. Rowe came on at the right time, won the penalty in the end. Elliot Anderson came on. And I just think he is incredibly underrated. When you watch England and Nottingham Forest, but it's England in this instance, the way that he just finds space, he's constantly finding space. And it looks so simple, and it is so simple. But not every player does it. Not every player is capable of it. He's very, very comfortable in possession. Even if he's got to play a couple of yards away, he's not bothered. He's happy to receive it from his teammate, and he's very quick at getting rid of it as well. Very, very rarely, when I watch him play, does he get caught in possession. Very, very rarely does he play the wrong pass. If you want a midfielder to come on and just dictate play, control the tempo, slow it down a little bit, he's the right man for that. If you want a midfielder that's going to try and break the Spanish press and play it through the lines, get it into the attacking players, he's the man for that. And I thought it was a big call by Carsley not to start him. But I understand why. On a booking, keep him, try and protect him as much as you can, because you're going to need him for the semi-finals, more so now with Morton suspended. You would imagine Anderson comes back in. But because of the way Carsley's utilised this squad, and after the game he spoke about facing the Netherlands, and he basically said, I've got a plan for them, but one thing's for sure, we're going to attack them. That mentality as a manager is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I found myself really warming to the duo Carsley and Ashley Cole. You hear a lot of good things about Ashley Cole as a coach behind the scenes, and you can see him on the bench living every kick and header and stuff like that. This England team are... You have to remember, they're missing a lot of players. This isn't the best that this squad could be. Obviously, Liam Delap was in the squad and Chelsea removed him because of the Club World Cup. But there's plenty of other players that would qualify to play for this England team, but they're just either in the senior squad or they've got Club World Cup going on. You know, you've got both Bellinghams are eligible for this team. Jared Branthwaite injured, of course. You mentioned Liam Delap. There's a lot of players. Lewis Skelly, there's another one. Miles Lewis Skelly could be playing, but he's in the England senior squad. It's one thing having the talent. It's one thing having the players. But it's another thing, you still need the manager. And I think they've got the perfect manager in Lee Carsley. But the way that this England squad play is completely different to the first team. Under Tuchel so far, I haven't watched much of them, admittedly. But when I have watched them, it looks boring. It looks stale. It looks safe already. Already looks like that. So early in Tuchel's reign, which I think a lot of people expected. A lot of people had reservations about his appointment because of his style of football. And because he's German. But you don't have that with the under-21s. England under-21s play with freedom. There you go. I managed to get my Scottish thing in there accidentally. Freedom! That's how England under-21s play. But that's what's enjoyable about watching them, because there's so much talent there. But you're able to watch McAtee pulling the strings. I thought he was excellent last night. And like I said, you were waiting for it. I think he's been underwhelming thus far. But last night he stepped up, a real captain's performance from him. But you just let the quality ooze out of these players. There's some fantastic players in that squad, but Carsley allows them to be fantastic. They play with freedom. They play for each other. They've got that spirit. But out of possession, there's no prima donnas about them. Hard work. Every single player grafting, fighting for each other. After the full-time whistle, literally fighting for each other. It's a special group, and it's not the first time it's a special group at this level for England. And it's not the first time But these players could go on and achieve something 3 years ago. I think 6 of the players started last night were part of the under-19s 3 years ago that had success. They're now going to be looking at the senior squad, looking at Kyle Walker and Jordan Henderson, saying, get them out. Get them out the squad. Anderson deserves to be in the England squad ahead of Jordan Henderson, 100%. Livramento deserves to be ahead of Kyle Walker, 100%. I think there's arguments for other players as well that's currently with the England under-21s. I think Harvey Elliot has more than a fair claim to be in the England senior squad. I think Elliot Anderson is one of the most underrated players in the Premier League for me. This England under-21s, I think they're actually underrated as well. I don't feel like they're getting as much hyper recognition as they should. I think it's because of the Club World Cup. I think that because that's going on, I think it's taking the spotlight away from the Euros at the minute. But not only do I think all those things, I also think whichever club... Harvey Elliott last night, there was an interview with him up on Channel 4 before the game, and he was once again reiterating his desire to leave Liverpool in the nicest possible way. I'm at a stage of my career, I need to be playing minutes. I love Liverpool, proud to play for Liverpool, but I need to do what's best. It's the right attitude to have. Completely understand it and agree with him. And I would make him my top priority as a West Ham fan. Claret Blue specs back on. Harvey Elliott, top priority. Is he exactly what we need right now? Probably not. Would he be too expensive for what we've got to spend? Yes. But I genuinely believe he's a top player. Last night, his movement, his passing, but then you saw that slide tackle that he did near the end. Just the right time, the right moment, just to bang. Add a bit of aggression, just remind Spain that they're in a battle here. Elliot Anderson underrated, England under-21s underrated, Lee Carsley underrated, annoyingly, those things. I'm still Scottish at the end of the day. But number 4, whoever gets Harvey Elliott this summer is going to get a top player. I hope it's West Ham, but I can't see it. Anyway, England under-21s, I'm actually really looking forward to the game on Wednesday. And it's more enjoyable for me than a lot of yous watching because I don't have a dog in the fight. The senior squad, the England senior squad, I'll be honest with you, this is where I'm going to be Gio now, right? Talking about football's gone. Let's talk about Gio. Growing up in Scotland, you're always told you don't like England. It was just part of childhood. You support West Ham, you support Scotland. We don't like England, by the way. We don't like Man United, blah, blah, blah. It was one of those things you just get told. So as a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, it's just something. You just don't... You want England to do badly at tournaments and stuff like that. And when I was at school, there was obviously a lot of... Well, I say a lot. There's quite a few English pupils, and there was always that rivalry in school. And as I've grown up through adulthood, I'm not arsed. I'm really not bothered. I would prefer... I'm talking about the senior squad. I don't want England to win anything. But if they win a game, I'm not... It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't say, England won. Has no impact. If England get knocked out of a tournament, hey, for about 2 minutes, it's fun. But the England under-21s, and I think there's a big part of the reason for the senior squad is I feel like there's an air of arrogance sometimes regarding England. And it's not necessarily you, the fan. It's usually journalists and stuff, despite... The irony being is that they quite often want to knock England down before the tournament and tear strips out of certain players and stuff. There's always a bit of a media onslaught for certain players in the England squad. Raheem Sterling is the perfect example. He's been battered by the press over years, and then they'll sit there today and go, he's not the player he used to be. Well, are you surprised? You've been lynching him for 5 years. Every time you picked up a paper, it was... battering Raheem Sterling, even when he was like at the top of his game. Let's speak candidly here. When Raheem Sterling was at Manchester City, Raheem Sterling was incredible. He was fantastic, but he would still get battered by the media. You know, there was one article I remember. He went out for breakfast and was like, he's out for breakfast after putting in a bad performance for England in a game they didn't win. Wow, what? He's not meant to eat? What do you want from the guy? Anyway, so the England media side of it sometimes comes across as arrogant. And I think that's what fuels people to almost enjoy England failing. But with this group of players, these under-21s, that doesn't exist. There's no vibe of arrogance or entitlement. The vibe is a group of young players enjoying their football, working together, working for each other, proud to play for England, proud to represent the fans. And even as a Scotsman, I have no desire to see them fail. I'm able to watch it and enjoy how they play football, because a lot of the players in that squad are very, very likeable from a Premier League perspective. I like Livramento a lot. I like Harvey, Elliot a lot. I'm not going to go as far as say I hope they win it, but unlike the England senior squad, the under-21s, if they did win it, it wouldn't bother me, but actually part of me would think, do you know what? Well done. You deserve that, because right now, I think they might just win it. Again,